Hey guys, we're going over the tools of fiscal policy that we started on in class. On the back of the first page, it's pretty simple. You're just writing whether it's expansionary or contractionary fiscal policy. Remember, expansionary fiscal policy increases aggregate demand, boosts the economy, while contractionary fiscal policy slows down in a really overheated economy. And expansionary fiscal policy, those two tools are increasing government spending and or decreasing taxes. And contractionary is just the opposite. It either increases taxes or decreases government spending or both. So number one, it's pretty simple. It just says government cuts taxes and increases its spending. It is expansionary for sure, just because not only is government spending going up, and that's a direct shifter of aggregate demand, taxes are going down, which means your disposable income increases and consumption is going to increase as well. Number two, taxes are increasing, government spending is staying the same. So with fiscal policy, the two tools being taxes and government spending, it could be one, it could be the other, or both. So just because government spending is staying the same does not mean nothing is happening. It says taxes are going up, which is contractionary. Number three, spending goes up and taxes remain the same. So just like number two, only one of them is happening, and that's okay. Government spending goes up. It's going to increase aggregate demand and expand the economy. And number four, government reduces the wages of its employees and raises taxes on consumers, and other spending remains the same. So it's cutting employee wages. So me, being a government employee, won't make as much, and I'm getting taxed more. So it's definitely going to contract the economy, just because I either won't get paid, or if I do, my disposable income will be less. So on the next page, looks like this. La 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 la. Okay. So you have 5 scenarios, one of which will not have an answer for fiscal policy. So you can just, put little X's down each of those boxes. But you're asking, what's your objective for aggregate demand? Meaning, what do you want aggregate demand to do? What do you want taxes government to do that for aggregate demand? How does it affect our federal budget? Is that going to put us in a deficit or in a surplus? And then what's going to happen to our national debt? So remember, if there's a deficit, our debt will go up because we'll be borrowing money to pay off that deficit. But if there's a surplus, our debt's probably going to go down because we're going to assume that we're going to use that surplus to pay down our national debt. So number one, national unemployment rate rises to 12%. Ooh, that economy is really bad. So we really want aggregate demand to increase. To do that, we're going to lower taxes, increase government spending. Of course, that combo is going to decrease our federal budget. We're going to drive us down into deficit and increase our national debt. Number two, inflation is strong at a rate of 14% a year. That's really high. That economy is way overheated. We got to slow that down. We want aggregate demand to decrease. So to do that, we're going to raise taxes, cut government spending. Of course, that's going to put us in a surplus, and we're going to use that surplus to pay down the national debt. Number three, surveys show consumers are losing confidence in the economy. Retail sales are weak and business inventories are increasing rapidly. So the economy is getting a little sluggish. So we probably want to boost that economy by increasing aggregate demand, by lowering the taxes, increasing government spending. That puts us in a deficit, though, and increases our national debt. And number four, business sales and investment are expanding rapidly, and economists think strong inflation lies ahead. So we should probably slow this economy down before it gets too big of a problem. So we want to decrease aggregate demand by increasing taxes, cutting government spending. That puts us in a surplus, and we can use that surplus to pay down our national debt. Number five is the one that you really can't do anything about. Inflation persists while unemployment stays high. Well, if you were to expand that economy, your unemployment's better. It's back at a reasonable level, but your inflation is even higher than it was before. And if we try to slow down that economy, inflation is no longer a problem, but then unemployment's really high. So that's the scenario that fiscal policy, which is an aggregate demand shift type of thing, just can't be helped. Let's talk about the automatic versus discretionary. It is on the back of this page. So you are putting either an A for automatic, D for discretionary under the first column, and then E or C for expansionary and contractionary in the second column. So government cuts income taxes, government's doing discretionary, but they're cutting taxes. So that's going to expand the economy because you have more disposable income. Number two, the government eliminates a favorable tax treatment. So a favorable tax treatment lowers your taxes. Yay, that's favorable. but we're eliminating that. And the government's doing it. So if the government's doing it, it's discretionary. And they're getting rid of something that lowers your taxes. So essentially, they're raising them, and that would contract the economy. That would slow it down. Number 3, as incomes rise, as a result, people pay a larger fraction of their incomes in taxes. The government's not forcing this to happen. They're not causing this. It's just automatically happening. Of course, if taxes are going up for people have less disposable income. That's going to contract the economy. Number 4, as a result of a recession, automatic, more families qualify for food stamps and welfare benefits. Okay, so government spending is going to go up because there's a lot of people on welfare. So this is actually going to expand the economy. That's a good thing. The government eliminates the deductibility of interest expense on tax purposes. I know that's a mouthful, but you know what a tax deduction is. It lowers your taxes. And this is lowering or getting rid of a deduction. It's getting rid of something that's lowering your taxes. So it's raising your taxes, which means it's contractionary. And the government's doing it, so it's also discretionary. Number 6, the government launches, discretionary, a new major space program to explore Mars. They're going to pay for this. Government spending is going to go up. That's going to expand the economy. Number 7, the government raises Social Security taxes. Taxes are going up. That's going to contract the economy, and they're doing it. The government is actually doing it, so it's also discretionary as well. Number 8, corporate profits increase, automatic. As a result, government collects more corporate income taxes, contractionary. Number 9, the government raises corporate income taxes. The government's doing it, discretionary. The raising taxes, also contractionary. And number 10, the government gives all of its employees a large pay raise. Highly doubtful. It's discretionary. We're getting a pay raise. It's also going to be expansionary. And let's look at that back. Multiple choice practice. All right. Number 1, which of the following represents the most expansionary fiscal policy? Expansionary, that's going to be lowering taxes and increasing government spending. So you can immediately get rid of C and D. So that leaves us with A and B, which are quite similar. A $10 billion tax cut or a $10 billion increase in government spending. They're both $10 billion, but remember that multiplier. The spending multiplier is always going to be higher than the tax multiplier. Remember, spending multiplier is 1 over MPS, while the tax multiplier is negative MPC over MPS. And it doesn't even tell you what the MPCs and MPSs are, but we always know that the spending multiplier will yield a bigger change of GDP, which means that B is the most expansionary, just because it's going to give you a larger multiplier effect on the economy. Number 2, an appropriate fiscal policy for a severe recession. Well, if you cut government spending, that's going to make it worse. Appreciation of the dollar, no, that would make our goods more expensive. That means our net exports will fall and our GDP will fall. That's not good. Increase of interest rates, then businesses won't take out any loans to buy the tractor and the capital goods that they want to buy. So that makes B, a decrease in tax rates. Number 3, assume that aggregate demand in the economy is excessive. Announcements.
Please come to the front desk. Your ride is here.
I should have waited until after now.
Well. Your ride is here.
Okay. Number 3, assume that aggregate demand in the economy is excessive, causing demand pull inflation. Number 3, assume that aggregate demand in the economy is excessive, causing demand pull inflation. Which of the following would be most in accord with appropriate government fiscal policy to slow down that economy? We either want to raise taxes or decrease government spending. And look at A. I mean, that's the first one that says increasing the income taxes. Yes. Simple. Done. Move on. Number 4, if the economy has full employment budget surplus, that means that. So we're just defining what a surplus is, really. A surplus is when the government brings in more money than they're taxing, or taxes are less than what they're spending. And the only one that says that is B. Number 5, discretionary fiscal policy. Remember, there's automatic and discretionary. Automatic just happens almost accidentally, and then discretionary tax takes an act of Congress. And C is the only one that says, it's made by Congress to stabilize the economy. That's what fiscal policy is trying to do. 6, discretionary fiscal policy is named so because it involves specific changes it's an opinion of Congress. And so it's C. Number 7, if the MPS in economy is 0.1, government should shift aggregate demand curve rightward by 40 billion by. Okay, so if the MPS is 0.1, then the then the spending multiplier is going to be 1 over 0.1, which is 10 divided by 1, which is 10. So what times 10 gives you that $40 billion worth of change? 4. 4 times 10 gives you that $40 billion of change, and that's A. It's not going to be the taxes one because that would be the tax multiplier, which is negative 0.9 over 0.1. That would be a negative 9. And so there's no numbers there that make sense for that one. And number 8, which of the following fiscal actions will be most effective in curbing inflation? So we want to slow down, we want to contract that economy, we want to raise taxes, we want to decrease government spending. Oh, but it's talking about budget surplus and budget deficits. Okay, well, if we do contractionary fiscal policy, it puts us in a surplus. We're spending less money than we're taking in. Of course, I also want to make sure that that money does not get in circulation. And so I'm going to impound it. I'm going to put it away, lock it away that no one can touch it. All right, hopefully this makes sense. There are some decent questions on the test about fiscal policy. Make sure you know those multipliers. Make sure you how to work out the math to figure out how much of a change you need, and remember the side effects when it comes to deficits and debt and crowding out when it comes to fiscal policy. You know those ideas, and you should be good. So if you have any questions, leave a comment, contact me on Remind or through Google Classroom, or email me or Twitter me, or however you want to do. So see you later. Bye.